my wife write my jokes for me.
She doesn't write my jokes.
I know she doesn't, because otherwise they'd be better.
No, I mean, she sometimes helps me come up with questions, but she hasn't this week, because I thought of them all in the past 15 minutes.
Well,
I didn't realise I was asking the questions until I listened to the podcast on the way home.
Amazing.
It's like, oh, shit!
Hola, bienvenido, John Maspian.
Ah, John Maspian!
Hello and welcome to Would John Rather, not in Spanish this week. I'm John and I'm alive again, not sick and throwing my guts up.
And I'm John, and a tiny owl told me not to go to work today.
And I'm not John, and I didn't realise John had started the episode. I thought we were still talking in Spanish to each other, so sorry for my outburst and ruining your introduction. This is Would John Rather, where we record a podcast where we consistently ruin each other's, ideals. Is that a good way to put it?
Morals. Ethics. Values.
Ethics. Think of this as a weekly ethics podcast where we talk about things that could happen but probably won't and decide whether it's the right thing to do.
And occasionally review movies for no reason.
I know you said and occasionally, but I thought you were going to say Anakin and then talk about the ethics of when he killed all the younglings.
But that's a movie review, so...
Yeah, so it's kind of all wrapped up into one. And, yeah. Not much more to say.
Who's asking the questions this week?
Pardon?
I said, who's asking the questions this week? John.
Oh, that's me. Shall we dive right in?
John
Do
admitted
you need any more prompting?
Yeah, John admitted before starting this episode that he remembered about 15 minutes ago that he was asking the questions this week. So I hope you're ready for some quality content. I think he was just buying some time then.
So I've got a question which would
need finishing by the sounds of it.
which would demonstrate just how I worked out that I was asking the questions. But I'll skip that one over to see if I can think of something better in the meantime. We'll come back to that. Would you rather have an explosive personality or a pack of explosive cigarettes?
I'd rather have a pack of explosive cigarettes. I got there first.
But you don't smoke.
Yeah, so therefore you can smoke regular cigarettes and not blow up in my face about it.
Well, I'm not very happy that you get the cigarettes when I'm the smoker. First of all, how are you going to explain to everyone that you've got a pack of cigarettes, seeing as you're the smoker?
Because.
Oh, okay, fair point. I'll move on. I think.
Anyway, I don't know smokers' etiquette. Is that the sort of thing of if I've got smokes and you don't have any smokes, do you get my smokes because you don't have any and you're a smoker as well?
I mean, smokers tend to share, like, as long as you're not taking the piss.
You can't share a cigarette. They're one use
only. No, but you share cigarettes. So if you came out with us and you'd ran out of cigarettes, you'd be like, oh, Matt, can I pinch a cig? I'd be like, yeah, no problem. If you did that every single time we ever saw each other for the foreseeable future, eventually I'd go, no, go get to fuck. But occasionally asking to bum a cigarette, even from a stranger, there's nothing wrong with that because it's smoker's etiquette. However, I could keep the exploding cigarettes for when I'd had enough of that person who bums one too many and give them a cigarette. Boom. They're just now a stain on the ground and they no longer are a problem.
So are we just debating who has the best ideas for using exploding cigarettes now? Because one of you is supposed to pick the other side.
No, well, I'm going to argue that for people like yourself who decide they want to smoke in an inconvenient place, I'd be like, oh, have you tried one of the new menthol ones? And people go, oh, I don't really like menthol, but I haven't had one in, about a year and a half, so I might as well give it a go, because no one says no to free cigarettes, do they?
I mean, it sounds to me like you're committing a hate crime, because
yes.
I'm culling my own kind, but you're deliberately...
I'm culling your kind.
You're culling our kind, yeah.
It's not that I think less of you, it's just those people that are inconsiderate smokers. Whenever you've come around, you need a smoke, you go outside quite happily. You don't mind. You don't even make a big deal of it. You just pop out.
Oh,
because you're very, very considerate.
Yeah, and I make a point of if I'm not exactly that we walk anywhere anymore, but I make sure that I stand downwind, so I'm not like blowing cigarette smoke into people's faces. If I'm around like a nice area because cigarettes are pretty much biodegradable, but I'll always make sure to find a bin or at least down a drain at the very worst. But quite a lot of time, especially if it's a nice area, put it out on the sole of my shoe and I'll put it back into my backy pouch until I find a bin. So I agree with you. There are inconsiderate smokers.
And then I'd just be ridding the world of them. And then that would be less weight and tax upon the NHS themselves when people die of double lung cancer.
Yes, and also there'll be less demand for cigarettes, therefore the price will go down for people like me who do still smoke.
Agreed.
I actually, to a certain a thing I do as well, if I'm like walking in, like along the high street or, walking somewhere and I pass someone that's got a kid in a pram and I'm smoking, it's obviously a bit late to like stop smoking in the middle of my cigarette. But if I've just taken a drag, I'll hold my breath while I walk past, just at the risk of blowing cigarette at the kid.
That's very thoughtful.
It is. It's probably unneeded, and I can hear John violently thinking that I could just throw the cigarette away at whatever point during the cigarette's life cycle. But you see how many kids there are? If I put out a cigarette every time I saw a child, then I'd want to put out my cigarette every time I saw a child on the child. So that's not going to happen, John.
While we decide how we're going to get back on track and who's going to pick an answer, one of my heroes that I never got to meet and never really found out that much until he died was Lemmy Kilminster from Motorhead. He sounds like a really cool, interesting bloke. But he became mates with Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl told the story at his eulogy that Lemmy was playing an arcade machine as Dave Grohl was walking through the bar and he was going to talk to him. He thought, no, I don't want to interrupt. Because, you're playing an arcade machine. So he carried on through to the back of this pub where he's having this interview type thing. And then he spotted Lemmy at a table. And Dave Grohl popped over to Lemmy and says, "Oh, Lemmy, you're my idol. You're from Motorhead. I think you're so cool. The coolest band in the world. My name's Dave. I play in a band called the Foo Fighters." And Lemmy turns around and goes, "Oh, Dave, I sort of know who you are. And I'm so sorry to hear about your friend Kurt." And Dave Grohl was blown away. So they stayed mates ever since. And the first time that Dave Grohl introduced Lemmy to his family, Lemmy was smoking a big old cigar and had a big old glass of JD and Coke. And he wandered into the green room where Dave's family was, and he spotted Dave's young child, took his cigar straight out of his mouth, put it in his JD and Coke, and put it on the side. Because that's the respect he had for Dave Grohl and his family. Thought, how cool is that for a rock star?
That's very cool. That shows the sort of emotional intelligence that you need just to be a human. It doesn't matter how famous or how big you are, you still got to think about others around you, which is why I don't think that having an explosive personality is beneficial to anyone.
Right. Okay.
Why do we always do this to him?
We came
all right. Let's settle this. Tyrannosaurus or bookcase?
Bookcase.
Tyrannosaurus.
John wins.
What?
He had to look at Kirsten for backup. What do I choose?
So you've gone with
Kirsten
knowledge over crude oil. Brill. Crude oil over knowledge, even. That's fine. That makes perfect sense.
How is your car powered?
If we didn't use
fossilized dinosaurs.
Exactly. And if we didn't use that, we'd use something else. But what are we going to replace books with? Oh, the internet.
The internet.
Fuck. Okay, fair point. John wins.
Internet 1, Matt 0.
Yeah, so why did you do that to me?
It's amazing how we came up with this concept of Would John Rather, and we've edited it slightly where we all ask questions and answer questions now just to keep it fresh each week. But essentially, it's a very simple concept. And yet, every time you ask questions, we think of some way to fuck you over and do it in a different way. Oh, may it long continue.
I love the fact we don't pre-discuss what we're going to do. It just happens on the fly.
I cannot emphasise enough how none of this is planned.
John, you need to put on your big boy pants and get control of this podcast. It's going off the rails.
Yeah, okay. So
if you can suggest any advice for John keeping control, or why you think that having an explosive personality is good, tweet at us at WoodJRather. Or if you think that it's bullshit, to be fair, I agree with the dinosaurs now I've thought about it. But still, let me know if you think it's bullshit and you can convince me back to my original team.
And if you want to get in contact with me, it's John Would Rather. I'm Jon because secretly I'm a Jonathan. It makes me very middle class, but don't tell anyone.
Oh, that was very ASMR. Gave me little tingles.
And if you'd like to get in touch with me, I don't know why you would, but you can send me a message with Braille. Going to have a go at learning that.
It's getting stretchier and stretchier each week, isn't it, John?
Have you ever thought about how many methods of communications there are?
There's loads.
Yeah, there are loads. But, well, just try and think of them every week.
I mean, it just shows the lack of foresight you had when we started, doesn't it? You both made your beds and now you've got to lie in them every week.
What's really fun is when you throw one in that we were going to use possibly another week, cutting our life cycle down shorter. Thank you for that. That's my favourite thing when you just wade in with small chairs. Think of small chairs and walk off.
Oh, I'm trying to help, but instead I'm trying to hinder. John, let's have another well thought out and fleshed out question.
Would you rather be able to change people's memories or change people's hair colour?
Memories. All the time memories. You could essentially control the world.
Yeah, you're basically asking someone if they want to be a hairstylist or a supervillain. Because no one's ever going to use that for good, are they?
I'd use it for mostly good.
For about a week.
I'd use it for good now. If I had that power in my 20s, I probably would have used that to get laid.
I mean, so what would you do? At the moment, you'd actually change everyone's mind about their state, so you could not bother putting towels out. You could do a turd on their bed, and then they come to complain. You go and change their minds.
Can I just clarify? At what point are you changing people's memories? Is this before you get laid or after?
Both.
No. So I could approach.
I'd need it to be both.
I could approach the girl, try a chat-up line, and if it doesn't go well, then I'll just erase her memory and try a chat-up line again. I don't mean like in a sordid way I'm going to erase her memory afterwards. Like, that's starting to get a bit, I mean, there's no other word for it. It's starting to make it sound a bit rapey, John. I mean,
that's why I was asking before I even considered endorsing it. I had to clarify at what point.
No. I just mean like it'd
before.
Yeah, 50 first dates, you get multiple chances to make a good first impression. Or in a job interview, I could, you say something, you go, oh shit, that didn't land as well as I thought it would. Then you just try again. Or you make a mistake at work and it just, we erase the boss's memory that ever happened.
So I don't, in my head, it isn't that you erase people's memories, it's that you would replace it with something else.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, so that's even better. So in the idea of chatting up a girl, I could use any chat-up line I wanted, instantly erase her memory so that it becomes a good memory and she's like, oh wow, that was really smooth.
Oh, that guy that I just met, I remember when he bought me a kitten. God, he's the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to change people's hair colours because that's really useful to society. And it doesn't make me a sex criminal.
Yeah, to be fair, whichever way you slice it, when I bring girls into the mix, it does start to sound a little bit sordid, let's be honest. But
John, make a decision now. Make a decision now.
But I wouldn't use it for evil. I mean, let's be honest, in the whole like girl thing, it's all a matter of it's subjective, isn't it? You could go like both of your wives, how you met them and chatted them up. Had that have gone in a slightly different way, or they were in a slightly different mood when you first met them, none of that could have happened. Like, it's all goes down to that exact what was happening in their personal lives, what mood you were in, what words you used, how you were dressed. Like, all of that leads to that exact point of you two getting together. So,
well, I don't know how me asking my wife if she'd go out with me all those years ago could have gone any worse. We were on top of a hill and it was all frosty and it was very nicely moonlit. It was really picturesque. And this is after a night of drinking. I turned around and said, I hope you wouldn't be drunk when I asked you this. And she turned around and shouted at me, I'm not drunk. And that's Oh my god, she's come to the room.
And you haven't let her sober up since.
She's shaking her head at me right now. I'm not kidding you. Oh, I'm in trouble now.
Bet you wish you could change her memories.
I just change her hair colour. I'll make her ginger. Then she'd fear me.
Yeah, I wanted to get onto this. Would you only use it for good, or would you use it to make mischief?
What, the hair colour?
Yeah, the hair colour.
Surely you change all dogs to blue.
Oh, I could change all dogs to blue. That'd be quite interesting for a day at least.
Because I thought it would be quite fun just to kind of wreak a bit of havoc, sort of just blow people's minds. 1 minute, their hair, just the people around them, their hair colour just changes and just really messes with them a bit.
How far is the range on these powers? Can I watch like a live news report and then go, you know what, Jon Snow from Channel 4 would look much better as an Auburn.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would definitely work.
So, what about the distance on my powers?
I mean, one person at a time.
Okay, well, maybe I couldn't do the Jon Snow thing, but I could simply walk up to you, John, and persuade you that you used to have blonde hair. It's the same effect.
Yeah, okay. So that's the extent of your mischief.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's not that much mischief we could get into because let's face it, I couldn't turn Donald Trump's hair a different colour because it's glued on. It's not natural.
And I haven't got much hair left, so it would be useless to do anything for my hair.
I'll turn it to blonde smoke. Don't worry.
Thanks. I think the question boils down to: would you rather have a fairly useless superpower, or a superpower that could very easily be used for just as much evil as it could be good?
Yeah.
And that comes down to the person. So,
So I know I should definitely not give it to you.
yeah. So just say
it. No, I think on balance, I'll have to take the risk. I think changing people's memories wins.
Yes. John, do you know where that happened? It's because I erased his memory of that rapey bit right at the beginning.
It's good you got in there first.
Oh, yeah.
I tend to find with John's questions, you either got to get in there first or you've just got to suck it up and carry on.
Well, that was like the first question. We both had to think it over for a second, and then we were both like, shit, there's going to be clearly one answer.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, so we're on 1-1.
Yes. We've asked 3 questions and we're on 1-1.
Yeah.
And that takes out of
we only asked 2 questions.
No, we had to abandon the first question because
we weren't playing ball. And so we're going to ask. The time that we spent answering the second question was used up by the first question. So the second question was a 1-word answer, and that's all we were allowed.
But I don't want to do the questions again, so we're going to do 4. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But that does mean that no one is quickly catching up with me for 3rd place. Well, shall we do another question then? Yeah.
I mean, you're the question master. You're as much as I'm kind of the host, I don't get to do much hosting when I'm not asking the questions, so it's up to you to control it a little bit, John. We've already discussed this once this episode. On your big boy pants.
Let's do another one then.
Okay.
Would you rather go to prison for 5 years for something you believe in, or go to prison for 2 years for something you didn't do?
Go to prison for 5 years for something I believe in, without a doubt. If you haven't got convictions and beliefs, then you're not a real person.
I'd rather go to prison for 2 years for something I didn't do, because 2 years is still 2 years.
Thanks for clarifying.
Well, there we go. What's the hard math behind picking 5 years like some sort of dullard? You've got principles. Oh, okay. Well, I was framed. You've been saying that for the last 2 years. Yes, because it's true. And then they'll make a documentary of making a murder about me, and then I'll get out, and it'll be all cool thanks to Netflix.
Yeah, but that's still 2 years of your life that you've lost.
This is not 5.
But I'm willing to spend 5 years of my life for something I believe in. Which
What, you're going to evangelise the inmates about not poisoning turtles with plastic waste?
No. It's
For
not about
5 years?
It's about.
That's a very long time to be raped in the bum.
Yeah, but this is Saved by the Bell.
My secretary's got it.
Oh, okay. See, the thing is, and I have to be careful how I thread this needle, but that's the problem that you have fighting terrorism, is because they strongly believe in what they're doing, so
they're willing to give up their life for it.
Yeah, they're willing to accept the repercussions. But if you believe in something that strongly, then you're willing to take the punishment or the recompense or whatever it is that comes with it. And I'm saying if there was something that I believed in that much that I was willing to do, then
what is that?
Oh, I don't know. I'd bomb a whaling facility. That would be illegal, and that would probably get me 5 years.
If not more, depending on how you acquired your explosives.
That's what I'm saying. Something like that. Like the extremists, not even to the point of like really bad terrorism that you sent us down, John, but you know, people that are against fur that go and throw paint on people, like they're willing to go to jail for a couple of nights just to throw paint on the people and they don't believe they're doing anything wrong. But it's that blind, like, belief. It's a belief system. And if you believe you've done something right, then you're willing to go through with it.
For 5 years, that's an awful long time to be petty and short-sighted and spiteful towards people.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if I went to jail for 2 years for something I didn't do, then I'm probably more likely to become a villain after that. Like, your whole view of the criminal justice system would be completely skewed because you know you didn't do it and yet no one believes you. And at what point in that 2 years do even your nearest and dearest and your friends and family start thinking, oh, maybe you did do it? Like, that's the point that would worry me. As pointed out on the last question where John hesitated to give me such an awesome power, at what point during that 2 years would people have this different view of me? At least if I went to jail for 5 years for doing something that I had a conviction in, that I believed in, then I would be happy with the knowledge that anybody that didn't support me through that 5 years, I wouldn't want to be a part of my life anyway.
So this is not a moral slight on yourself in any way, shape or form, but I would like to think of myself as a particularly firm moral character. If I said I didn't do something and then I didn't do it, if I did do it, I'd own up.
Oh,
I'd
totally.
Straight away.
If you went to jail for 2
years, yourself as well.
If you went to jail for 2 years and you told me you didn't do it, I'd believe you, and that would be the end of the conversation. However, I don't think as many people would believe me if I said I didn't do it.
Quite possibly, but I think the people that would disassociate themselves with you for going to prison in the first place are the same sort of people that would disassociate themselves with you if you were there for the wrong reasons, if you were there for the right reasons, if you did it, if you didn't do it, just because they think it's a reflection on them.
Oh, no, I know, and I totally get that, but the difference is, with the 2 years, I'd lose people that I didn't want to lose through no fault of my own, whereas the 5 years, I'd lose people that I'm prepared to lose because they don't believe in what I'd done.
Bombing a whaling unit.
Yeah, but if that's the example we're going with, but you see what I mean?
You have to go with an example.
Yeah, bombing a whaling unit. If I went to jail for 5 years and say you two stop being friends with me because I bombed a place that goes whaling, then I'd go, okay, well, I shouldn't have them in my life because I was prepared to take the rap for doing something I believe in. They don't agree with me, so therefore we're on a completely different wavelength. Whereas if I went to jail for 2 years and it could be for anything, so we don't know what it is that I'm going to jail for 2 years, but you guys started to think, oh, maybe you did do it and then I lost you because of that. That would be heart-wrenching because I've lost people in my life through no fault of my own, and there'd be no rebuilding that relationship because even if afterwards I convinced them that I hadn't done it, there was that point in their lives where they thought I had, and you would never be able to rebuild that relationship. But I completely get where you're coming from with the 2 years because you've got a child. So that's the biggest thing for you, is that's 3 years of your child's life, which is the exchange. So I get where you're coming from. And if I
also think that you could be off the radar for 2 years and people might get a bit suspicious, but you could probably rebuild bridges. Like, there's one of our good friends who doesn't reply to text messages very quickly. I'm almost like sure that I could get away with going, oh yeah, I changed my phone number. Sorry, mate. I'll get back to you, and he'd accept it. Cause...
I mean, do one of you know something that I didn't? Has he actually just told us he changed his phone number and been to jail for something he didn't do?
He might have done. He might have done. This actually may be the situation. He might be a patsy, or he might just say that it's part of his moral code, and he deliberately did that thing with those orphans. I don't know.
So this is actually closer than I thought it would be. So perhaps I could just take on a slightly different turn to this question to see how it affects things. With your 5 years and with your 2 years, what sort of extra skills or what would you do with that time?
I'd study woodworking and electrician. See, that's not the right term, but I'd study electrical workings and woodworking. Electrical purely for the career aspects, because it's something that I have always been curious in, but never followed it through. And the more I speak to my brother who does it for a living, the more I go, oh, that actually sounds really interesting and actually, useful, and there's a demand for it. And woodworking, because I want to do that as a hobby, but until I soon move into my own place, it comes with a shed. Oh yeah. Not a flamingo, unfortunately, but I've always wanted to be able to build things, and I am quite practically minded, but unfortunately the way life took me, I moved away from that. So I would use the time to better myself.
In 5 years, how qualified could you get a formal qualification in 5 years? I guess you probably can. You could probably do a PhD in that time.
Exactly. And all of that time to read.
Okay, so, and in 2 years, what skills are you going to... I appreciate you've got less time to acquire a new skill, so you might be...
So 2 years is long enough.
He'd be really good at table tennis.
Like Forrest Gump.
What are you going to go for? What can you achieve in 2 years, which
I
is
reckon
going to
within
match
6 months I could bench press my own body weight.
Okay.
It's pretty efficient time.
So you go to jail, falsely imprisoned for 2 years, spend the entire time working out, and you're telling me you're not coming out as a villain hell-bent on revenge.
I'm working on my screenplay because I'm obviously going to make a script and they're going to turn my life into a story, and I'm going to be played by Ben Affleck.
Oh, this has all the makings of like The Punisher.
Oh, that's kind of. I thought you were going to say like one of those daytime TV films that is only available on like ITV9 in mid-afternoon, and the lead is like an extra that was in Holby City once.
Have we got the part of our Would John Rather trilogy now after Ninjas in Paris and whatever the other one was? Have we now got Revenge of the John? Falsely imprisoned.
Bench pressing.
Yeah.
Easily bench pressing 90 kilos.
Right, so woodworking versus bench pressing.
Woodworking and
my screenplay.
And electrics. I'd want to become a Sparks.
And history and politics combined at Reading.
You've only got 2 years. Bloody hell.
I'm going to work hard. We do night school.
Took me 3 years to get my degree in history and politics.
But we all know year one is just about drinking, dicking around, and calling yourself Frank.
That's what prison's like.
No, it's not. There's no drinking
Oh, I
in
don't
prison.
like the term dicking around in prison.
You've got 5 years to think about it, Matt. 5 years.
It's alright, I'm a power bottom.
Be like throwing a sausage down a corridor.
I'll do what I need to survive.
Oh, I'll mail you a wig.
Thanks.
So, John, it actually boils down to who do you think is going to be bummed for the longest?
5 years wins.
Yeah! Wait! Oh.
Oh.
That's what swung it. I'm sorry, John.
Will you bake me a cake with one of those donut blow-upable cushions in when you visit me? So I can at least sit down.
Gonna ice him a bunt cake.
Yep. Oh, thanks. That I could tell from your silence says a lot, and I could tell from the way that we started to answer those questions that you were going, I didn't expect it to take this direction.
I'd never.
We've broken John.
It never goes how I expect it, ever.
Yeah, to be fair, I think there's probably only one or two questions in the history that I remember that's gone the way I expected, where you go, oh, okay. But, yeah. Well, looks like I'm asking questions again. Or I'm catching up on the lead.
Well, I've been John, and the owl's telling me not to bother asking questions again.
Well, I've been John, and I need to pull my finger out.
And I've been not John, and I don't like that terminology after what we just discussed, because I am currently clenching and have been for 3 minutes. Yeah, this has been Wood John Rather, and I'm off to... Oh, just to clarify, because you've announced the winner, by the way, but I'm going to use the electronics and woodworking I was studying to create a better bomb to blow up another whaling facility. This has been Wood John Rather, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, folks.
Who builds bombs out of wood?
They won't suspect it. It'll be like a Trojan horse.
Well, hey.
That was made out of wood, but that wasn't explosive. Why don't you make an explosive Trojan horse?
Maybe I'll make some wooden explosive cigarettes.
And then we can run into my screening question.
Yes.